Join me as I dive deep into the Bible to reframe rebellion, not as mere political dissent, but as a profound spiritual journey. It's a powerful theme woven throughout the scriptures, a narrative that transcends history. It's not just about challenging earthly empires, but about the soul's courageous path to divine truth. It's truly fascinating how these ancient stories of faith can become a roadmap for our own spiritual quests today. The central theme is this: a spiritual journey that, from the outside, often looks like rebellion against worldly authority. But it's so much more than rising up against a ruler. It is a deeper, more personal quest for spiritual alignment and liberation. Think of it as the soul's epic struggle against spiritual darkness, a conscious journey from the bondage of conformity and fear into the liberating light of enlightenment and purpose. This darkness can be societal corruption, the loss of personal integrity, or even our own spiritual apathy. This path is fraught with profound moral and spiritual questions. When does a divine calling require us to defy earthly powers? How can we distinguish between righteous defiance and a simple ego-driven rebellion? What is the true cost of taking such a stand, not just politically, but on a personal and spiritual level? The Bible presents us with characters who grapple with these very dilemmas, showing that the path of authentic faith is rarely simple or straightforward. Take, for example, David's intricate journey. Anointed by the prophet Samuel while Saul was still king, David's life became a spiritual path of living into a divine destiny that was fundamentally at odds with the current political reality. What looked like a rebellion against King Saul was actually a masterclass in trust and obedience to God's will, even in the face of intense persecution. His repeated refusal to harm Saul, the Lord's anointed, underscores the spiritual complexity of his supposed rebellion. Then we have the Israelites' exodus from Egypt, the ultimate story of a collective spiritual journey. Their motivation wasn't just freedom from slavery, but a deep collective soul calling to return to their covenant with God. The story doesn't end with their escape. It extends into the 40 years in the desert. This was not a punishment, but a necessary pilgrimage of purification, learning to shed their slave mentality and depend solely on God, forging a new spiritual identity far from the fleshpots of Egypt. Daniel's experience in Babylon provides another powerful example. His rebellion was quiet, internal, yet unshakable, a spiritual journey of maintaining faith and integrity in a world that demanded compromise. From refusing the king's rich food to maintain spiritual purity, to facing the lion's den for praying to his God, his defiance was non-violent but profoundly revolutionary. His story teaches us about the quiet resilience of the soul and the immense power of unwavering devotion. A key turning point in any spiritual journey is the moment of complete surrender, perfectly symbolized by the crossing of the Red Sea. It was a test of absolute faith in the midst of chaos and certain death. This moment, more than any other, illustrates that the greatest spiritual breakthroughs often happen on the edge of the impossible, through a radical surrender to divine power. It was the death of an old identity and the birth of a new one. These biblical journeys aren't just ancient history, they speak directly to our own spiritual paths today. They encourage us to look at our own lives and identify the empires we are called to spiritually transcend. This could be the empire of consumerism, the empire of digital distraction, or the internal empire of our own ego that resists surrender to a higher purpose. In wrapping up, reframing rebellion as a spiritual journey in the Bible offers incredibly rich insights into the soul's quest for God. These narratives are timeless, guiding us as we grapple with our own fundamental questions of faith, purpose, and our relationship with the divine. If this perspective on biblical stories as spiritual journeys resonates with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. What does spiritual rebellion look like in your life? Your reflections are invaluable. Also, consider checking out another video where we explore more biblical stories and their relevance to our spiritual lives.